Hey guys, welcome to another awesome webinar at Pasadena Humane. My name is Isabel and I work in the outreach department, going ahead and helping put together these webinars for you guys. So all of you that signed up know that today we are focusing on the lovable pit bull. Joining us is going to be Laura Vena. Hi Laura, how you doing today?
Hi everybody, I'm good. How are you, Isabel?
Doing really well and super jazzed. I love pitties. I've owned them for kind of most of my life. I think I've only ever had one dog that wasn't a pittie or pittie mix.
All right, I love it.
So I understand you do a lot of community support and offer resources for those that do own pit bulls. Do you mind letting us know what you do?
Absolutely. So I am the founder of an organization called Blockhead Brigade, and we are a community organization that supports and advocates for pit bulls and their people. So we do a lot of pack walks. We have a dog management workshop that's free that we do once a month to help people if they're dealing with any challenges or anything like that. And we do a lot of outreach. We try to troubleshoot problems. We also advocate for shelter dogs. We try to help people with any discrimination in regards to housing and other things. So we're trying to create a safety net and a community that is there to support each other. So that's kind of what we do.
That is amazing. And I feel like that is such a huge help, especially for a community that there's a lot of kind of misinformation about, and there's a lot of like things that people assume about pit bull and pit bull owners that aren't necessarily founded in truth, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to talk a lot about that today.
Perfect. So before we get started, guys, we do have a couple of reminders, and the awesome Michelle Holbrook is actually going to bring those to us. You mind queuing up the reminders, Michelle? Alrighty.
All right, here we go. So if this is your first time joining us, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you have joined us before, these are just a few reminders that you may or may not already know. So this is an audio and visual presentation. You will be able to see and hear us, but we can't see and hear you. Okay, so if you have questions to ask, go ahead and use the chat, the question chat box on the right side of your screen, and I'll go ahead and ask them as appropriate. Please do save all of your questions for the end, though Laura may answer them during her presentation. Okay. This webinar is being recorded, so you will receive an email tomorrow afternoon with this recording. If you don't, please let us know at outreach@pasadenahumane.com or .org. I apologize. We've got some great upcoming webinars. Next week, we're going to be with Lonnie and back with Isabel talking about DIY costumes for your pets since Halloween is coming up. And we've got some very possum things coming. Also, we will be talking about debunking pet nutritional myths with Dr. Adrienne Bautista of Royal Canin, the beginning of November, to kind of celebrate Cook for Your Pet Day. Okay. And if you're looking for something to do on Halloween, go ahead and you can visit any one of these breweries and pick up a growler. 10% of your purchase will come back to support the animals at Pasadena Humane. So without further ado, take it away, Laura.
Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for being here. I'm so happy to be here with you today. We're here to talk about pit bulls. So whether you are already, let me get my screen up here, whether you are already an advocate or family member, a rescue, volunteer, or shelter staff who works with them regularly, or are considering welcoming one into your home, we've all heard those persistent negative stereotypes about pit bull type dogs. And you probably already know the dire consequences of those stereotypes. We're here to dispel some myths, examine our own assumptions, and find ways to speak more accurately in order to advocate for the dogs and not contribute to any additional harm to them. The impulse to mischaracterize or slander pit bulls leads to real consequences for the dogs and their families. From everyday harassment of pit bull parents with snarky remarks, to breed restrictions that cause housing instability, families to be torn apart, and innocent dogs to lose their lives. It's obvious that extreme and misinformed views held by some have a devastating impact. But is it possible that even advocates and those who love blocky-headed dogs are unknowingly contributing to negative stereotypes that harm the status and treatment of pit bulls? So let's start with what we know or think we know about pit bulls and how we came to know it. I'd like you to keep these questions in mind as we go through our discussion today. Possibly no other dog has faced the intense scrutiny and sustained discrimination that pit bull type dogs have. And like all discrimination, it is largely based on assumptions, hearsay, a lack of factual information, and a whole lot of imagination. Generally speaking, some of the most damaging misconceptions are really just these two categories: that pit bulls are, one, unloved, and that they are, two, inherently dangerous. The first assumes that most pit bulls are unloved, unwanted, unpopular, and abused, and that's why they end up in the shelter abandoned in such high numbers. And the second assumes that pit bulls are naturally mean, aggressive, or dangerous dogs that need some kind of special handling. These are two assumptions that I'll be focusing on today. First, we would all probably agree that it makes no sense to look at these photos of pit bull puppies and think that they are somehow born inherently aggressive or dangerous. And there are enough photos out there of loving pit bulls and their families to prove that the same is true for many, many blocky-headed dogs. So how do the stereotypes persist? What are they based on, and how accurate are they? Before we pass any judgment or perpetuate misinformation, it is essential that we consider the facts. And for those who already think the negative perception about pit bull type dogs are false, we need accurate information from reliable sources in order to advocate for the dogs. It's really important that we frame conversations about blocky-headed dogs in a way that looks to trackable data and facts. We can look to scientific evidence, such as examining the data from temperament testing by breed by the American Temperament Test Society, reviewing cases of bias in media coverage, learning about the relationship between breed and behavior, and realizing how inaccurate visual breed identification is from the National Canine Research Council. We can also familiarize ourselves with studies of basic dog biology from Animal Farm Foundation. We'll look a little bit at each of these today. It's also valuable to look at family narratives for reliable anecdotal evidence, or the stories and photographs that people share about their own pit bull type dogs. Even though they have no scientific value, people's everyday experiences are an essential part of the story and are powerful too.
So there's a quick poll going up on your screen to answer this question: which dog breed is friendlier? All right, and we'll be closing the poll in about 3 seconds. Laura, 55% of the audience said that pit bulls were friendlier, and 33% said golden retriever.
Okay, interesting. Okay, now I know who's listening a little bit. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the American Temperament Test Society. They're the ones who go out and test the dogs, and it's a really rigorous testing. I watched one of the videos and it was really interesting to see. So their testing evaluates dog behaviors based on shyness, fear, and aggression towards humans and other dogs. The organization has published the statistics resulting from years of testing and organized their findings by breed. The following slide that I'm going to show you shows how a few of the breeds tested compared to one another. The higher the score, the better the temperament of the dog. Okay, let's see if we're ready for this. So temperament tests found that pit bulls are actually among the least aggressive dogs out there. Pit bulls were found to be in the top 23% in regards to behavior and tested higher than beagles, bulldogs, basset hounds, Bichon Frise, corgis, chihuahuas, German shepherds, poodles, Yorkshire terriers, and many more breeds. As you can see, they even tested higher than golden retrievers. Those who love pit bulls already suspected this. By the way, this is a photo of two pit bull type dogs rescued from the euthanasia list at Orange County Animal Care, different years apart. They are not only friends to each other, or brothers from another mother, as I call it, but they are both very beloved and active blockhead ambassadors about town who frequent pack walks and other social events. Although they are popular with lots of people around town, we have a lot of pit bull lovers here in Long Beach. Their parents still get those snarky remarks here and there, something that other types of dogs may not experience as regularly. Imagine you're walking your golden retriever down the street and people are crossing to the other side of the road, grabbing their children and picking up their dogs in horror, even while you have your dog on leash and controlled, while they scurry away, throwing hateful comments and looks your way. Even if you haven't experienced any of these things yourself, you might be able to imagine how pit bull people feel when it happens to them. These everyday jabs may seem harmless or benign, but it doesn't feel that way to those on the receiving end of it. And they do still contribute to public perception. One of the big points that I'd like to make today is the power of words and how we need to be careful, even advocates, how we use them. And in this case, that constantly repeating a stereotype has a cumulative impact on the way people see the dogs and how they treat them. Much like all forms of prejudice, negative stereotypes of pit bulls are repeated ad nauseum and amplified through the media, in institutions, through hearsay, with careless comments, and willful targeting. You may see lots of positive images of pit bulls in social media, but mainstream media has a long way to go in ending a practice of biased reporting about pit bull type dogs. So I don't want to give any more screen time to that dominant narrative that's already out there and has kind of a chokehold on the branding of pit bull type dogs. We have another question.
Okay, the poll is launched on your screen. Which dog below is known as America's dog? Oh, Laura, there's almost a split vote here. All right, and the poll is closing. It is between the Labrador Retriever and the Pit Bull.
All right, that's kind of a trick question because this was kind of in the past, right? Even though some of us would like to reclaim pit bulls as one of America's dogs, that is something that was more commonly felt in the past. So let's see. Okay, there we go. For over a century, pit bulls were considered friendly family dogs. In fact, the United Kennel Club states that the breed is not the best choice for a guard dog since they are extremely friendly even with strangers. What changed? The media's perceptions and the criminals who use pit bulls in dog fighting. The breed, however, is still the same, eager to please and brimming over with enthusiasm. And that is a veterinary behaviorist from United Kennel Club. Okay, so challenge your perceptions. We did this neat project where we had people do this with their own dogs. And these are the slides that they came up with, which are really cool to look at. So seeing and hearing negative reactions to innocent family members takes a toll on people. Many pit bull people love their dogs more fiercely because of it and want to protect them even more. And then consider from a dog's perspective being treated with fear, judgment, or even hatred, and how scary that would be. What reaction would we have if we were treated that way? And would we trust the person that did that? Perception is everything, and even this kind of treatment can often be met with a tail wag on occasion. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the National Canine Research Council. They report that people routinely cite media coverage as proof that pit bulls are more dangerous than other dogs. In one of the studies on media bias, they found that a non-fatal attack by a pit bull type dog was reported 230 times in media outlets, whereas fatal or more serious attacks by labs and other breeds were reported by only 1 or 2 media outlets. In other studies, they found that a dog's breed was misidentified much more often than not. They found that visual breed identification was wrong at least 70% of the time, and often more. And I just want to read this quote by Dr. Victoria Leah Voith of National Canine Research Council. You can't reliably predict a dog's behavior based on breed identification by a human. There's just way too much variability among dogs. Anyone who's had more than one child or has ever had a litter of dogs knows there's tremendous individual variation in siblings. So even if they identify breed correctly, you can't predict what its behavior is going to be. So we have another question here for you. So is pit bull a breed of dog, yes or no?
Okay, and the poll is closing. The majority has weighed in as no.
Okay, good. We have some savvy people out there. Okay, so I want you to take a few minutes while I'm talking about some information to see if you can pick the pit in these photos. Write down the numbers on a piece of paper or just memorize them if you don't have paper around, and we'll get back to this and we'll show you the results. Each of these dogs was given a blood-based DNA test to determine breed. Which of them do you think are pit bulls? As far as breed science, scientists have reported for decades that even first-generation crossbreeds or mixed dogs usually look dramatically different than either of their parents. So a Corgi Beagle will look much different than either a Corgi or a Beagle. Even experts have very little agreement when visually determining breed. In 2018, the biggest study ever done on visual breed identification compared DNA results to, it compared visual breed identification to DNA results from 2 large shelters over a period of a year. It found that the shelter population was made up overwhelmingly of mixed breed dogs, with less than 5% of the dogs being purebred. And then those mixed breed dogs were, generally speaking, 3 or more breeds. So less than 2% had 2 purebred parents. So there's a lot of mixed dogs in the shelter. The shelter staff's guesses at breed were unreliable and mostly wrong. Okay, are we ready to see the DNA results on these dogs? Okay, so you can see that it's a little bit shocking. There's some number 7, some American Staffordshire Terrier, number 9, significant American Staffordshire Terrier, and then number 11, I would have totally guessed that was a pit, is distant traces of American Staffordshire Terrier. So the study's findings complicate any attempts to make decisions based on breed or to link behavior to breed. It also suggests then that when pit bulls are blamed for events or behavior, they are being held responsible for actions by dogs from an incredibly wide range of canine heritage. And this, I wanted to tell you guys some of the other results. There's, you would think that they were mastiffs or something related to pit bulls, but the first dog is boxer with some bulldog. The second dog has distant traces of smooth fox terrier. The third dog has significant Chihuahua with some Cocker Spaniel, and it goes on. So you can see how diverse this group is as far as breed. In fact, pit bull is often used as an umbrella term that includes the following breeds: American Pit Bull Terrier, American Staffordshire Terrier, American Bully, Staffordshire Bull Terrier, and sometimes the American Bulldog, along with any crossbreeds that share certain physical characteristics, like a blocky head or a muscly body. Unless DNA testing is done, many dogs who are labeled as pit bulls are done so based on very unreliable visual guesses. Okay, I have another question for you.
Okay. Does breed determine a dog's behavior or personality? And so Laura, our viewers have weighed in with the answer of no.
Okay, cool. We're going to talk about that a little bit too. Okay. So Animal Farm Foundation says that when someone asks, what kind of dog is that? What they're really asking is, what do you think we know about a dog based on their breed or breed mix? How accurate are our guesses at breed when we don't know a dog's background? And what can we predict about dog behavior based on breed or physical appearance alone? According to Animal Farm Foundation, the behavior of all dogs is influenced by many factors. That is why breed traits are possible, but by no means guaranteed. When Animal Farm Foundation looked closely at the science and research on the subject of canine genetics and behavior, what they found was that all dogs are individuals, which is even more true with a loose grouping of dogs like pit bulls that include so much genetic variety and differences in physical characteristics and emotional and physical needs. Some pitties are couch potatoes, some are lap dogs, some are athletes who prefer exercise over cuddling, and then there is everything in between. Each dog's individual needs should be considered and satisfied in order for them to be the best dog they can be. So the scoop on genetics. Animal Farm Foundation found that by examining genetics, when it comes to a dog's DNA, less than 1% of its genes determine the dog's physical appearance, which is what we rely on when we assign a breed based on visual observations. What we see of a dog when we're looking at breed is only 50 of their nearly 20,000 genes. That equals 0.25% of its total DNA. So truly, looks don't equal behavior. What's more, mixed breed dogs have so much genetic variation that they are totally distinct from any of the breeds they are mixed with. A mixed breed dog is no breed at all. Breed won't help determine behavior because the behavior of all dogs, purebred or mixed, is always influenced by a variety of outside factors, including socialization, environment, and who the handler is. Once a dog is a mixed breed, they are not a member of any breed. Each mixed breed, even those from the same litter, will have a unique genome. And even if we know the breeds present in a mixed breed dog's DNA, we do not know which parts of the dogs are influenced by those breeds. If a dog's DNA results come back as 12.5% golden retriever, there's no way to know which part of him carries the traits of a golden. So just for fun, as an example, when you get a chance, do a Google or IG search for Pit Bull Basset Hound. You will see a lot of adorable variation in features, characteristics, and personality. We may not like this fact, but we can't accurately predict future behavior based on how a dog looks on the outside, their breed, or their DNA results. As much as we'd like to reliably predict dog behavior and temperament, we always have to keep a healthy degree of doubt and realize that we don't have that superpower. What can science reliably tell us about pit bulls then? We know that pit bulls score very high on temperament tests, that pit bull is an umbrella term that includes multiple breeds and mixes, that visual breed identification is unreliable, and that breed is not an accurate indicator of behavior. Even advocates and enthusiasts might find this frustrating. We'd love to champion all pit bulls and assign them across the board with certain positive characteristics that we couldn't possibly give to every single blocky-headed dog. But we can use the science to combat stereotypes and tell our own personal stories instead of generalizing, which portrays a more accurate story. Treating the dogs as individuals always is the best way to go. Here's another question for you.
Do you think pit bulls are popular with people? These answers are a little bit closer, Laura, but overall, the community says yes.
Okay, interesting. Okay. Pit bulls make up about 40% of the dog population in shelters. It's easy to see images of dogs behind bars in the shelter and think that they are there because they are unwanted or unloved, or worse, unlovable. But that's most likely absolutely not the case. Two major causes for pit bull type dogs ending up in the shelter are overpopulation and housing discrimination. And another is misidentification of breed. Pit bulls have large litters and are bred frequently, which leads me to a myth I'd like to bust more than any other myth once and for all. There wouldn't be so many pit bulls in the shelter if people didn't love them. I'm gonna say it again because I feel like it's such an underspoken thing. There wouldn't be so many pit bulls in the shelter if people didn't love them. If they were unwanted, there would be no market for them. But just like Chihuahuas, who also end up in the shelter in large numbers, there are so many of them because of their popularity. In fact, dogs identified as pit bulls are among the top 3 most popular breeds in 28 of the United States, with Chihuahuas and Labs being the other 2. So unloved and unpopular, untrue. Discrimination against dogs with blocky heads persists despite the evidence. Humans want the comfort of predictability and are hardwired to look for patterns to understand the world around them. Unfortunately, this leads us to assumptions and bias that are based often on a lack of knowledge or on inaccurate information. Sorry, let's see if I can get my, my video doesn't want to play, but I have this really cool video for you here. And if it doesn't play, it's okay too. That's a cute picture. Challenge your own assumptions too. Even if you are an advocate, are you influenced by negative depictions and media coverage that focuses only on the bad stories, which account for a teeny amount of the interactions between dogs and humans, which are overwhelmingly good and never reported as news? Of course, these aren't the images that sell newspapers or broadcast advertising. And while every dog is an individual and we should never make blanket statements, for people who love their pit bulls, they are incredible family dogs, hilariously goofy dogs, beautiful, absurdly affectionate, loving, darling tugs in clown suits. And while each individual dog has its needs and limitations, overwhelmingly, dogs in general tolerate a lot from us humans. Although the stereotypes about pit bull type dogs have faded to some degree, there continues to be much hostility, and there's still so much work to do. Okay. I'm sorry my cute video didn't work, but that's the end.
So Laura, there are a couple of questions from the audience.
Okay.
So how does the ATTS select which individual dogs to test?
That's a great question. I have no idea what the answer is. I did watch a video of what they did, but I don't know how they choose the dogs. That's an interesting question. We should definitely look into it. And you should, if you find out, you should email me. I would love to know that.
And another question we have from the audience is it true, are pit bull type dogs, are their bites more harsh than the bites of smaller dogs?
I think that the studies that I've read, I'm not going to have any kind of data right now, but the studies that I've read is that they're on par with dogs their size. So of course, a smaller dog is going to have a different impact when it bites. But it's not any different than any large dog. So there's nothing special or particular about the strength of a bite when it comes to a pit bull type dog.
Okay, so a couple more questions have come in. Did the DNA test differentiate between American Staffordshire Terrier and American Pit Bull Terriers?
I didn't see any American Pit Bull Terriers in the results, and I'm wondering if that's because that breed designation is not recognized by the AKC. I'm not entirely sure, but there's so much also variation when it comes to the DNA tests and what, if a DNA test company doesn't recognize the breeds that aren't recognized by the AKC, then that wouldn't even be a possibility. So that's one other thing that complicates the conversation, right, about pit bulls, is that pit bull terriers are not, American Pit Bull Terrier is not recognized by the AKC as a breed. Yeah.
Okay. So you indicated that breed does not determine personality, but yet there are some conversation out on Google about the personality of different breeds of dogs. So is not all of the personality is determined by their breed, but are there certain characteristics because of breed?
Yeah, that's one of the things that they found, is that there absolutely could be some characteristics that are aligned with breed, but that wasn't necessarily true. And when it comes to dogs that are mixed, then that kind of goes out the window, and you really do have to. So if you're talking about shelter dogs specifically, and not purebred dogs, that conversation is more complicated, because so many of them are mixed breeds. And they often, if the shelter gives them a breed designation, they often do it based on, like I said, visual, kind of this visual observation, but also what they think is the predominant breed. So you'll notice so much variation because of that. So it said that the behaviorists and the doctors that I read from those organizations said that it is possible for there to be certain characteristics based on breed, but not, it's possible, but it's not, for sure, basically. Yeah.
Okay. And then there's just another question / comment. Why are pit bulls so cute?
I don't know. I don't know. I hear one of mine barking in the background, but these are mine right here. He's probably lonely. He's very needy. These are my dogs. I don't know why they're so cute, but I mean, dogs are cute, and obviously mixed breed dogs are cute, and all dogs are cute. But yes, I love pit bulls. I can't help it. I'm always for the underdog. So I named my organization Blockhead Brigade, because the blockheads are the ones who get discriminated against or who have a rougher time. So when it comes to, I've known dogs that are so mixed, I wouldn't call them pit bulls at all, and they got thrown out of their homes because of an HOA that doesn't allow pit bulls. So they're always, they're special to me because of what they have to overcome. So yes, I agree, they're super cute, and I don't know why, but they are.
And actually, I also kind of wanted to chime in. What we understand that you provide resources, things like that. What is some of the resources that you see are widely utilized by pit bull owners that your foundation works with?
So housing is a big issue, right? Difficulties with housing, finding a place to live with your pit bull that allows pit bull type dogs. And a lot of those places do discriminate against other dogs. So like in Orange County, just south of us, the Irvine Company owns almost all of the apartment complexes, and they have a lot of breed discrimination. So people really struggle who are trying to rent homes. So that's one thing. People, come to us to socialize their dogs. We have a project called The Urban Dog, where we do these workshops that help dogs be calmer on leash, because puppies might like to play and be around other dogs, but sometimes adult dogs don't want to play with other dogs. So what we do is a no intro, no meets, no meeting each other pack walks, also to help dogs just learn to be calm around each other, so that people can have fun walking their dogs and kind of just not have to stress about it, because an urban environment can be really tough for people to navigate with a dog that might be frustrated, maybe doesn't get enough exercise. So we do a lot of things like that. Just, I have a lot of people emailing me with questions about dog-to-dog interactions if they have more than one dog in the home. So things like that. We try to kind of be a floating like intake diversion sort resource if we can be, to try to keep dogs out of the shelter, and just to empower people and make them enjoy their dogs more. So that's kind of the things that we're seeing a lot in our area is housing issues, help with socialization, and things like that.
Okay, and tagging onto the housing, because that's actually a big thing that we see in our shelter as well. It's usually a fairly broad and kind of inclusive reason for surrendering. So we do see that a lot, like, oh, my landlord or my HOA is not allowing this breed. Are there workarounds that you've seen or ways that people have been able to kind of appeal their housing boards to be able to keep their dogs?
Yes. There are a variety of things that you can do. So that's a great question. One thing I've seen people do that I really like is make a resume for their dog. And
Okay.
and you know, they have a photo of their dog, because a lot of people who do discriminate against pit bulls don't really know what one looks like, and when they see a picture they're like, wow, that's a really cute dog. So a resume with you know, information about whether your dog has maybe your dog has special training like CGC, Canine Good Citizen, or that your dog, you know, there are certain things you want to talk about. Your dog is super people friendly, so you could actually do a resume. I know Bad Rap, the advocacy group, it's RAP, they have, I think, templates on their site for that. But I love the idea of doing a, you know, a resume for your dog, kind of highlighting your dog's characteristics. So that's one thing. If you can get the property owners to meet your dog, that's great. And some people also might consider getting an emotional support letter. If you suffer from any kind of anxiety, you can get an emotional support animal designation on your dog, and then you can have them in whatever home you have, and they can't be discriminated against. So it is not a physical therapy dog. It can't go into restaurants and things like that. It's just a way for you to be able to keep your dog. I think you can travel with your dog with an ESA letter, but it's not the same as a physical therapy dog. So I think that's something that people should consider, because it's such a difficult thing for people to overcome. I also know that there are some lawyers that you can speak to that can help you, and DDR, Downtown Dog Rescue, is partnering with Heart LA, I believe, and they have some free phone sessions for people that are experiencing housing discrimination with their animals. So that's another thing, a really good resource. And I'll repost that. I post about it all the time, but they have a few dates coming up. So check out Downtown Dog Rescue and see what they're doing, because even if you're okay right now with your housing, if you rent, you may want to find out what the resources are and what's out there, just so that you can be prepared in case anything happens with housing or you need to move for some reason. So there are resources, yeah. Sorry.
And that's always great to have. And just like you were saying, even if you don't have a pit bull, if you have an animal that falls under the bully breed title, it's always great to know what your resources are, just because you always want them just in the worst case scenario. But fingers crossed that you don't need them. I do know that a lot of people that have come into the shelter, if they do adopt these, blocky-headed animals, they are very fond of creating their resume. So what the animal socialized with, how well they do in group settings, even schedule, so people know, like, hey, this is how much exercise this animal gets. It's, it has its enrichment done, so it does fine. And even on our end, we actually encourage meet and greets with landlords. Most times that's kind of the swaying factor. If they get to meet your dog and it's super friendly, they can see, it's very well trained, and you have a good handle on your animal, that can always make a difference. And now I know your organization puts on a good couple of events, and I understand you have one coming up. What's coming up with you guys?
Yes, and I wanted to add too, Isabel, you made me think of something about the last question. Do pack walks with your dogs and other dogs. You can come down to Long Beach and do that if, wherever you're at, or you can set up some yourself. We do pack walks every Saturday at 9 a.m. at Colorado Lagoon. And pack walks, it's physical distancing. We're 10 feet. Dogs are 10 feet away from each other, unless they come from a family, and it's one dog per handler. So that is a great way to get your dog to be calmer. So when you do try to apply for an apartment, you can have, you have kind of tested your dog and seen how they do around different situations, and they're kind of transformative. People come with really reactive dogs, and they end up really doing quite a bit of transformation on their dogs just by pack walking them calmly. And we have a special event this week for National Pit Bull Awareness Month. We're doing every year we do National Pit Bull Appreciation Day. I like the word appreciation better than awareness, because awareness sounds scary. So we normally have a big festival, but what we're doing this year is a little smaller because of COVID. We're doing a community pack walk and dog parade. So we'll be on the move because we're not supposed to congregate. So at Colorado Lagoon at 10 a.m. on Saturday, we'll be out there. It's on the corner of Orlena and East Colorado. You can look at our Instagram or Facebook, and we're basically going to be out there. No dog intros. Dogs never meet each other. They stay 10 feet apart, and we just walk together. It's a really beautiful route. Goes by Colorado Lagoon and the marina. There's going to be, we're actually doing registration. There's going to be, if you want to participate in a raffle, we have this very cool raffle, and a very cute espresso truck is going to be out serving espresso. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to see, rain or shine, we're going to be out there at 10 a.m. Just showing our appreciation. And it's amazing the kind of comments you get from people when you're walking like 25. It's open to any dog. You do not have to be a pit bull. We have a lot of pit bulls there, but we always get other kinds of dogs. I love when small dogs come, because I think it's very good for dogs to be around all kinds of different kinds of dogs. So people stop and stare, and they say, "Is this a parade? What's going on?" It's very cute, and all the the dogs are usually, if they're veterans, they're behaving really well. But even if your dog is reactive, bring them, as long as you can control them. Just, you give yourself as much space as you want and work on it. And eventually your dog will be able to walk calmly around others too. So that's this Saturday at 10 in Long Beach.
And that is so awesome. And I'm so happy that even with the COVID pandemic, you guys have found workarounds and ways to like still put these things on. Because I know even out here in Southern California, it can sometimes be a little bit difficult to be able to get to like dog parks and things, especially with the restrictions in place. So that walk sounds like a great opportunity. If any of you guys are in the area, I definitely recommend it, especially to kind of work on socializing animals. Before we go ahead and start wrapping things up, Michelle, are there any more questions from the audience that we need to address?
I think that we have.
I think we may have lost Michelle.
No, I think through general conversation, all of the questions have been answered. The one thing that came up a couple of times was, Laura, how do we get in touch with you? And I did respond that Blockhead Brigade is on Facebook and Instagram. Is there any other contact information you'd like to share?
Sure. Please email me. It's blockheadbrigade@gmail.com. Super easy. blockheadbrigade@gmail.com. You can message me. We're really only as strong as the people that work with us. So we're trying to really build community. I mean, that's our tagline: building community around the dogs we love. So we want to be welcoming. We don't want people to feel judged. All of us are in different places with our dogs, and working through some of them. Some of them have been traumatized before. Some of them are friendly. Some of them are scared. They're everything. But we try to come together, not judge one another, support each other, and be that safety net where you have people that you can call to ask and say, you know what, I'm having this issue, or you know, I'm having problems with my housing. And we always thought of this organization as a network of people, and we have people involved that are not even local, that we talk to and try to support, and they do the same for us. So please do reach out to us. We love to grow our community. We have people coming from the Inland Empire to the Packwacks, from Redondo Beach. We have people from all over LA coming out. So come and see us, or just reach out, and we, you know, I think that the biggest misconception that people have is that we're a rescue, and I have worked in pit bull rescue before, but I no longer do. I do advocate for pit bull dogs in the shelter and other dogs, but we are truly a community organization that is meant for the community and what their needs are, and we try to change and grow according to what people's needs are.
All right, and I have one last poll to put up on the screen for everyone, and we just, for our informational purposes at Pasadena Humane, part of our community outreach, we want to know, how did you hear about this webinar? Well, it's so great to see that we have so much of our community has attended a webinar with us before. Some are friends and family members told them about this, and it's great to hear that the word is just getting out about what it is that we're doing at Pasadena Humane. We're trying to expand and appeal to everyone, communities around the world, and hopefully we'll be able to be that place that people look to and say, I want to be like them.
Alrighty, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. This has been super informative, and like previously stated, if you guys have any questions, any concerns, you have anything that you're going up against, please don't hesitate to reach out to either Laura and the Big Head Brigade, or even Pasadena Humane. Both of us are a resource, and we're always here to help. I want to thank our special guest, Laura Vena. Thank you so much for being on and sharing your wisdom about pit bulls and their misconceptions.
Thank you guys so much. It was such a pleasure to be with you. And I'm going to post the on my Instagram account the slideshow that wouldn't play during. So if you come to the Blockhead Brigade Instagram later, I'll have that slideshow of all the people posing with their pitties up. So come on and check that out later. Thank you guys so much.
Alrighty, thank you guys. Have a great afternoon.